Today's episode, I want to demystify the top 5 misconceptions about freelance paralegals, virtual paralegals, and them working with law firms. So let's dive in. Number 1, they cannot be trusted. Virtual paralegals cannot be trusted. That's one of the biggest misconceptions that I saw back in 2020. Most of the attorneys that I spoke with regarding incorporating a virtual paralegal into their business in order to fill that gap during COVID all said, I cannot imagine my employee, while they are okay at work, I cannot imagine them going home and being productive. I can't imagine them going home and being truthful about what they're doing. Do I need to monitor their mouse strokes? Do I need to make them check in on video? All these crazy scenarios because they genuinely did not trust their employees to work remotely. Virtual paralegals and freelancing paralegals with law firms was absolutely a thing prior to the pandemic. I was one of them. I know several other paralegals, some of them having worked since like the 90s in a virtual capacity, right? Here's 2 really interesting things that came from it was that number 1, if you can't trust your paralegal, your legal assistant, any employee in your law firm, that they will be ethical, honest, self-motivated, self-regulated from home, why do you have them employed in your office? That requires micromanaging to a certain extent. That requires constantly keeping them on track. You have to do these things, and basically how I manage my 6-year-old. And I'm just not a big believer in that dynamic, especially when we're hiring people that are in a very high profession job. This isn't a standard job. We are dealing with people's lives in the law firm. All practice areas are dealing with people's lives. Why would you hire somebody that you cannot trust at home? There's a disclaimer here. I am not saying all W-2 employees are this way. I know some absolutely phenomenal, amazing, highly professional ones. But if you're the attorney that has that in your head that I can't trust my own W-2 employees, I'm talking about those employees. Let's talk about them versus the virtual paralegal. Now, the virtual paralegal, if they are very much committed to their business and they're in that business mindset, which will be demonstrated through your entire process of working with them, from their website to their discovery call to the way they onboard you, you'll be able to get a sense that this person is not in an employee mindset anymore. They're in a true business customer service mindset. They have to keep you as a client. They need that revenue coming into their business. They come with a different professionalism that you've probably never seen in your law firm before. And it will be so refreshing knowing that they are at home working independently on your stuff. You wake up the next day, things are checked off of your list. You don't have to micromanage. They are the highly skilled, highly trained paralegals professionals or legal assistant professionals. Number 2, and this is for honestly everybody in the industry, misconception I see a lot is that freelancing as a paralegal or freelancing in general is not a real job. It's nothing that is substantive for your livelihood. It's something that you do on the side for some vacation funds, to pay that medical bill off, or my attorney doesn't give me retirement benefits and I need to start planning for that. Most paralegals, especially the ones that you will likely be interacting with online, that you will see publishing content about their business online, are doing this as entrepreneurs. They're building a business. They're not just here to have a side hustle. They're building a company. And I just think it should really be noted the difference there in the passive side hustle freelancer. While there's nothing wrong with that, but the paralegal entrepreneur that is truly trying to make exactly what it is that attorneys have made, which is their own practice, their own firm. The only difference is that you're the client instead of the general public. But nonetheless, they're trying to attract clients. They want repeat business. Several of my course members are making 6 figures, multiple 6 figures from having started their own business. Freelancing as a paralegal is absolutely a real job. If you want to call it paralegal entrepreneurship, or you know what, just being an entrepreneur, a business owner, that is really what it is. The third misconception is that it's way more expensive than a W-2 employee to hire a paralegal as a freelancer because they charge 60 plus per hour. And yeah, when you're looking at just the hourly rate, if you times that by an annual, you would get probably a higher salary number than you would expect to pay for a W-2 employee that you hire in the firm. Attorneys need to jump out of that mindset that 1099 costs should be compared to W-2 costs. At some point, you should always be making the financial analysis on whether or not it is time to hire a W-2 employee. If you're overutilizing your 1099 paralegal, you should be looking at what would the cost difference be? But really, you have to look at that professional coming into your law firm from a different standpoint than just your traditional hire. Paralegals, when hired strategically in a 1099, are an immediate return on investment. You should be hiring 1099 paralegals to do the work that you can then bill out to your client or contributes to that overarching flat fee rate that you've set, because then every hour they spend, it's pure return on investment. They're billing you out at 60 per hour, you're billing them out at 150 per hour or even 100 per hour. That is a phenomenal profit margin. You can break this down to your W-2, but there's so many additional costs you have to consider with W-2s. The payroll costs, the benefits, the PTO, all those things, the taxes, the insurance. But the number one killer of profits when attorneys go to hire a W-2 that the firm can't sustain in terms of revenue and return from that paralegal is unneeded time versus the 1099. You're having low commitment hours and you can continue to drive in revenue and increase usage. And then yes, at some point you need to make the analysis. Does this justify a full-time hire? And then probably repeat the cycle. Number 4, remote collaboration makes things disorganized. Funny enough, it's really the opposite that happens when you bring a paralegal or legal assistant into your law firm to work remotely in a 1099 capacity. It seems like it would be chaotic, crazy. I can barely figure out how to manage the people that are up the hall from me, let alone trying to manage somebody that lives across state, onboard them through a computer, communicate with them through a computer. But skilled and trained paralegals that work virtually, and especially those in that driven business mindset, will help you not only get through that process, but they'll end up improving your firm's overall efficiency within the process of bringing them on board. They come in and they're going to give you the tips for the best collaboration, the task delegation, document organization, for how your team can better consistently communicate and work together on cases. It's not necessarily that they're an expert or they know more than your in-firm team. It's that they are forcing you to get with the times in your use of tech, in your cloud-based practices, and all of these things that you're doing. And you will be so refreshed once you get more refined in your organization, in your case management systems, and all of those things that make your firm operate efficiently. Number 5, which is a common, I wouldn't even say a misconception, but a concern that law firms have about hiring 1099 paralegals in a virtual capacity, is the lack of control and the loss control that they have when comparing it to a W-2. There's definitely the 1099 regulations. We have to be mindful, and they differ from state to state. You're all attorneys. If you're listening to this, and paralegals, you understand what that means. The most professional, highly skilled, independent paralegals will be more accommodating to your needs than you could ever find in most of your W-2 employees. They want to go above and beyond. They have a customer service mindset, and you are now the customer, not the boss. So they're here to make you happy beyond just what a normal employee would be expected of in their work. And so while, yes, they set their own schedule, I coach my paralegals and I'm seeing it left and right. They will really try hard to give you some sort of expectation in your day-to-day collaboration with them. This is when I'll be on. Does this work for you? What times do you do your team meetings? I'd be happy to join. They will be accommodating. No, you cannot control them, but they should be accommodating. All right, so just to recap, the 5 misconceptions in the freelance paralegal space. Number 1, they can't be trusted because you're comparing them to your W-2 employee, which means you really need to do some analyzing on who you're hiring for your law firm. Number 2, it's not a real job. Several of my course members that have reached multiple 6 figures running a business, not a side hustle. Number 3, it's more expensive because of the hourly rate versus a W-2 salary. Make sure you're looking at the overall picture, how much time you actually need from this new hire, and make sure you're factoring in all those costs above salary that come into factor with W-2 hires. Number 4 is that the remote collaboration will make things very disorganized for you and your firm. Remember, these paralegals are going to come in and improve the organization and the systems and processes in your firm, naturally by working with them. And number 5, the control issue. Ensure that you're finding a paralegal that really cares about your experience in working with them in this capacity. And the way you can identify that is you will get a sense of a customer service forward experience when you're working with these paralegals and all that you do with them. And it will give you a definitely different feeling than your traditional hires that you've made in the past. If you're an attorney that is interested in a free custom staffing strategy plan, come and work with me. You can schedule through my calendar. We'll get on a call. It's absolutely free and determine through all of these factors what would be the right fit for you. If you're a paralegal and you are interested in going freelance, I highly encourage you grab my free training. It will guide you through the current market demand for freelance paralegals and the 12 steps that are really essential for you to get started to make it a success from day one. Thank you so much. Until next week, have great days ahead of you.